Well, final question before I let you go.
Okay.
And you'll interview me, actually.
Yeah, I do want to interview you.
So I just interviewed this guy recently named Abdul Robinson Senior. He is the father of a rapper in Jacksonville, Florida named Ksoo. And we had talked about the situation ahead of time where basically Ksoo was involved in a murder. Some of the guys involved with Ksoo had called him up after they had ran into a house and taken an old woman hostage. Not knowing what he was walking into, he went to go help him out, only to find out a murder and a hostage situation had just occurred. He helped them get away, change clothes, change cars, and ultimately he was charged with accessory after the fact to murder. And what makes this story really crazy was that he ended up cooperating and had to take the stand ultimately against his own son, where he said, yes, this is my son in this video, and my son has a beef with these guys, and here's the motive, and so forth. And ultimately, his son got life without parole, and he got time served. He's out now. He did his first interview with me yesterday. What is your take on a situation like this? If being a Hells Angel while you're still active, one of your kids calls you up, and when you go pick them up, they tell you a murder and a hostage situation just occurred, what do you do at that moment?
Well, you have a crisis of conscience. Are you going to help your son, your family member? Apparently, I think the outcome's not good in this one.
Yeah.
And he becomes a witness for the government.
Yeah, he takes a stand.
He takes a stand.
Yes.
So now he's an informant.
Yes.
I mean, that's something that he has to live with. It's, you know, I interviewed Jay Adams. Excuse me, I keep calling him Jay Adams. We had a member called Jay Adams.
Jay Dobbins?
Jay Dobbins.
Yeah.
You know, got a lot of hell from people for that. You fucking talking to the cops. And no, you know, Jay wasn't a rat. Jay took an oath. Jay took on a assignment.
Yeah. Jay was an undercover who infiltrated the Hells Angels.
And,
were you around Jay ever?
Yeah.
Oh, so you knew Jay, not knowing he was.
Well, I knew, and I didn't like
feds.
And I don't. This is nothing personal to Jay. I didn't like what I heard. Jay was passing around a picture, and then I'll get back on this other question. But Jay was passing around a picture of who he said was a dead Mongol. And,
yeah, right. We talked about this.
Yeah, and as soon as I saw the picture, the person that showed me the picture, I looked at him and I said, how many pictures have you taken of someone you've killed? I go, this guy, something's not right. I go, this is wrong, and if it's not wrong, someone needs to tell him it's wrong.
Huh.
And from that point on, I had no interaction. I met Jay in Ventura on the 50th anniversary, and I believe Sonny Barger introduced me to him, and that may just be me wanting to think that, but I think he did, as I recall correctly. But, you know, look, that guy made a decision. He testified against his own son. Why did he testify against him? That's my first question.
Well, the reason why he testified against him,
was it a moral thing?
He gave a couple of reasons. Number one, he had two young kids. He had just had two kids that were 1 and 2 years old at the time, and he had like 9 kids at the time. He felt he needed to be there for his kids to help raise them.
How old is this guy?
He's 50.
50. And how old is the kid?
The one who did the shooting?
Yeah.
Early 20s.
Okay.
Yeah, early 20s. So, you know, he was in prison for 11 years, and he comes out, and his kids are all wild.
Right.
Are out shooting, you know.
Gangsters. Yeah.
You know, and at that point, he could just do what he could do. So his whole thing was, well, I had 2 kids that I have to raise, and if I go to prison for the rest of my life, no one's going to be there for them. He also said that at no point did his son ever step up, because here's the situation, right? And he talked about it. He said he was actually told that this was an offer on the table. His son could have taken 30 years and taken his dad off the case. But instead, he went to trial. So he felt a little bit betrayed that his son didn't ultimately, because there was overwhelming evidence. There was surveillance footage, people's DNA, and then one of the guys that was involved, the getaway driver, cooperated against everybody who was actually there. So it was overwhelming evidence, and he felt that his son should have just taken the plea deal and let his dad off the case, but his son instead took it all the way to court and ended up blowing trial.
You know, there's a lot of I don't know if this guy was tipped up with anybody, any street crews or whatever, but there's a lot of people that even if you take the stand in your own behalf, you're testifying, and they hold that against you.
Yeah.
And look, that's a family crisis. The father, no disrespect to him, but he's a government witness.
Yes.
He became a government witness.
100%.
Okay,
And
so
he understands that.
No, and that's okay. And I don't judge him. I don't fault him. Would I go out and do something questionable with him? No,
Right.
Because I know what the possibility may happen. But I want to say something, lad. In 2001, I was indicted on 59 counts. My son, who was in the middle of this whole mess, was indicted maybe 59. I think I had the most. He might have had like 56 or 57 counts. My ex-wife, we weren't ex at the time, we were separated, she got indicted with the same amount of counts as my son. So what did the Christies do? The Christies held fast as a family. My son didn't testify or make any statements against me or his mother or anybody. Me, I didn't make any statements against my son, my ex, or anybody. My wife, who was offered $1 million, she would not have to face deportation because she was a Canadian citizen.
Your wife was offered $1 million
Yes.
to testify against you.
Yes.
And she didn't take it?
She didn't take it.
Okay.
And that's,
There are women watching this right now saying, I would have absolutely taken that money.
I'm sure there would have, And
He
what?
cheated on me anyways. I could think of an excuse to do this.
Well, you know what? She was my high school sweetheart. My wife Beverly and her were good friends, who I'm married to now. And I think that there are women out there that wouldn't take the deal. And I'll tell you, I think Beverly's one of them. Cheryl was one of them. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of them. I could mention somebody in between Cheryl and Beverly that I think may have taken a deal. But anyways, I won't get into that. But, no disrespect to that gentleman, but, he's a government witness. He made a decision what he wants to do, and now he's got to live with it.
So if you were in that situation, you would have kept your mouth shut
Well, look,
and potentially did 30 years.
It's easy to sit here
Yeah.
and say that, look, my first case, I was facing life. I didn't make a deal. Life in 20. I didn't make a deal. I beat the case. My second case, I was facing like 160 years.
Right.
I didn't make a deal. Ultimately, the case collapsed under its own weight. I got probation, time served. They dropped all accounts. Same thing with my boy and my ex. In 2011, I get indicted. Count 6, 7, and 8 are mandatory minimums of life. You're familiar with that term. I held fast. My daughter fought the case, chipped away at it. Took 3 years. We argued that it was a house of cards, and ultimately the U.S. attorney made a deal with us. I went to prison in Texas for a year.
Yeah.
But 3 years of probation.
Yeah.
The case. Look at it from this perspective. The investigation started in 2007. I don't know if you've ever been investigated, but it affects you. I don't care what anybody says. They can say, let them bring it on. In the back of your mind, you're under investigation for 2 arsons. And you're thinking, who's going to say something? Whether real or imagined, or they think this is what transpired. 2011, you get indicted. You fight the case for 3 years. You go to prison. You come home in 2014 or 2015. I complete my probation in 2018. How many years is that?
11 years. Yeah.
There you go. So my advice to people is, if you're going to get involved in a street culture, think about it real carefully, because it's a completely different world. It's a completely set of different dynamics. You know, first, you know, the world changed so much. The first thing they do now, when I got to prison in Texas, you walk in there, what car are you riding in? Are you white? Are you black? Are you Mexican? Are you Aryan? What are you, man?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm here. What did you do? I did this. I robbed a bank. They go over to the phone, call home, look up this name on the computer. Child molester.
Yeah.
And, you know, in the old days, man, you could dodge that shit. In 1986, when I got to Terminal Island, paperwork wouldn't catch up with you for days, you know. There were serious Mexican mafia members in there that I had relationships with. You know, any reason you shouldn't be on the yard? You know, they're going, no, everything's fine. Well, the paperwork catches up 10 days later or something. But nowadays, it's all instant. It's a different world we're living in.
Yeah.
The local cops in town tie in with the feds. They tie in with them because then they can use the federal laws. They were using the Patriot Act. They were listening to everybody's phone calls before I got busted. And one of the informants was trying to get me to say compromising things about the firebombing. I never ordered any firebombs. They had witnesses that said no. George said in the meeting, don't firebomb tattoo shops.
I mean, look, we had the conversation yesterday, me and Abdul, talking about the situation. And I said that if I was in his shoes at the moment that those guys came out the house, got in my car and told me we were just involved in a murder and we just left a hostage in that house, I would have told them, you have to turn yourselves in.
And would you have done it?
And that's what I would say at that point. You guys have to turn yourselves in. I will get you a lawyer, and I will pay whatever it costs, and I'll have the lawyer walk you in. But I am not leaving this driveway right now with you guys in the car, because now I'm an accessory to murder and kidnapping.
Now let me ask you this.
Let me just say this though. When I said this to Abdul, he said I was not going to tell them to turn themselves in. It's just that was not me. So at that moment, he said that was not an option for him.
But he testified against him.
Later on, he did, yeah.
Yeah, but doesn't that seem kind of ironic?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the whole street rule thing is stupid. I think from top to bottom, I think these rules are set up so the guys at the top can continue to make money off everyone and be at the top and make all the other guys do the jail time for them while they're giving orders and making all the money. I think that's what it's really set up to do, honestly. Because at the end of the day, why would you go do a bunch of time over something someone else did over these imaginary rules that aren't set in stone in any law book?
Right.
That's how I look at it. But then again, I'm not a gangster. I'm not a criminal. Yeah, I pay my taxes. I do the right thing.
But you had an actual crime happen. There was an actual crime that took place.
There was an actual crime that took place.
A lot of things with me and the Hells Angels, there was no crime. I mean,
yeah.
They said that I ordered the murder of an informant, No, the Mexican mafia informant came to me, Mike Mulhern, Slim, used to call him Poor Slim. He always had a sob story. Came to me and said, this guy owes us $10,000. We don't want to kill him, George, but, we're going to have to if you don't pay the money. I'm going to pay $10,000 for some guy sitting in jail that I have no relationship with to prevent a murder. No, and you know what? I got beefed over it. I beat it. I proved that.
They tried to charge you with what, like a murder for hire?
Murder for hire. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I spent a year in federal prison. I spent. Well, the club did. I spent $500,000 in 1986 for Barry Tarlow, one of the top 10 lawyers in the world at that time. And nowadays, God only knows what something like that would cost you. But in 2001, I get indicted on this. They had no evidence against me. They had no conversations. The most incriminating conversation they had of me was two Hells Angels. The case was a Vicodin case. My son, along with some of his friends, had somebody that they were all friends with, grew up with. He went into the Air Force. He worked in the pharmacy. They stole 1 million Vicodin from the from the government. Was it a real case? Yeah, it was a real case. But was I involved in it? I didn't steal anything. They didn't have any. They didn't have nothing on me. But I got beefed. That's part of the game. The Vicodin was hidden in my ex-wife's house. My son had it hidden in his clothes. They beefed her to pressure her to testify against me. So, my advice to people is the street codes, is it really there anymore? I mean, you interview guys all the time.
All the time.
There's
they all cooperate, and they all have a great reason why they cooperate.
Well, of course they had to.
Right. Everyone has a great reason.
Yeah.
I was going to do 1,000,000 years, but then I heard this, so therefore I testified against everybody.
Right.
Sammy the Bull. The list goes on and on. The list goes on and on. And I remember I asked Sammy, I said, well, listen, I understand the beef with John Gotti because he's on tape.
He was going to kill him. Yeah.
Was trying to put everything on you, but you testified against all these other guys also.
And how did he respond?
He said, well...
It sounds like that I put them in jail. Sounds like that.
They put themselves in jail.
Let's talk about Chin. Let's talk about Chin. I'm not the only guy who testified.
Yeah.
Al Diaco testified. Other people testified. They had tapes. They had everything under the sun. So I was a part of that. But when they say you put 38 people away, I could have put 338 people away in reality. Mm-hmm. And I didn't.
Justification.
There's always a justification.
And what'd you think of Sammy?
Listen, I think he cooperated because he wanted to get out of prison.
Okay.
He ultimately had 19 murders and got time served.
I recently spoke to him on the phone. Yeah. There was a
interesting guy.
There was a production company that was interested in his expertise and my expertise, and they put us together, and we had a phone conversation. Sure. He's an interesting guy.
He's an interesting guy. That's what it is, George Christie. We're going to switch positions. You're going to interview me now.
Okay.
Let's do this.